Embrace plant-based eating, one mouth-watering recipe at a time, with the new updated edition of my most popular cookbook, Jazzy Vegetarian, lively vegan cuisine that's easy and delicious. With over 120 dazzling vegan recipes, lots more full-color photos, and 25 new recipes, this revised edition shares my best secrets for creating wholesome and satisfying vegan dishes that anyone can master. From vegan burgers to simple salads, satisfying soups to snazzy sides, and rich-tasting, scrumptious desserts, the 10th anniversary edition of Jazzy Vegetarian will dazzle and nourish people of all ages with 100% vegan recipes that are easy to prepare, nutritious, but most of all, delicious.
Jazzy, you're gonna be healthy with the Jazzy Vegetarian. Jazzy, so snazzy. We're gonna cook something healthy and light. Jazzy, so snazzy.
So join me in the kitchen right now.
We're gonna cook something healthy and light. That's right.
These meatloaf muffins are, of course, vegan, but they really are totally delicious. And this, of course, is a perfect recipe to serve to your family, but it's also great to do for a dinner party because it's really easy to double or triple the recipe. Now, I am starting off with tofu. Super firm tofu really works well as a base to give it kind of a meaty texture. It is very important to use the super firm tofu rather than the extra firm tofu. I've tried it with the extra firm tofu, but then your meatless meatloaf muffins do not hold together. So I am starting off with 1 block of super firm tofu, which I have cut into cubes. Of course, I drained it very well. Then we're going to flavor these meatless meatloaf muffins up with some barbecue sauce. If you'd like to make your barbecue sauce from scratch, you'll find several recipes on the website. So we're going to add 1/3 of a cup of a prepared vegan barbecue sauce, 1/4 teaspoon salt, and to give it a little smoky, meaty flavor, 1/2 teaspoon of smoked paprika. I love that smoked paprika. Now we're just going to mash this together using my trusty potato masher. You could pulse this a couple of times in your food processor if you like. Just don't over-process it because you don't want it to turn liquidy. You do want these nice chunks of the super firm tofu in your meatless meatloaf muffins. You want to just mash it up until no large lumps remain. And that's what I'm doing right now. So what else are we going to put into our very delicious vegan meatloaf muffins? I like adding various types of nuts to my vegan meatloaf and my vegan burgers. And today I'm using pecans. You can also use walnuts in this recipe if you prefer. And in fact, if your family is not able to eat nuts, you could use sunflower seeds if you like, but the pecans make it just the perfect consistency. So what we've done is we've put 1.5 cups of pecan halves into our blender, and we're just going to pulse them into very coarse crumbs. That is perfect. We've got nice coarse crumbs with our pecans. Make sure not to over-process them, otherwise they'll turn into pecan butter, and we don't want that. We're going to add our pecan crumbs to our tofu mixture, which has been mashed up very nicely until no large lumps remain. That's what you're looking for. Almost like a ground meat texture is the idea. Now we're adding our coarsely ground pecan crumbs. Stir it all together to incorporate it. Now, of course, we're not using eggs like you might in a traditional meatloaf, so we need a few things to help our meatloaf muffins hold together. I'm adding 1/2 cup of gluten-free, quick-cooking rolled oats. If you don't have the quick-cooking rolled oats, you can use old-fashioned rolled oats, just pulse them in your food processor or your blender a few times to break them down just a little bit. Fold those evenly in there. Now to add a little more flavor, half of a cup of finely diced or minced sweet onion. Fold those in. You can see our mixture is still a little bit dry, so we're going to add a little bit more of our barbecue sauce. 2 tablespoons of this barbecue sauce, and then 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. Oh yeah. These meatloaf muffins are nice and moist on the inside, and they're nice and crispy on the outside. And of course, being that they're made in a muffin tin, everybody gets the crispy part of the meatloaf muffins. Vegan, of course. Alrighty, so what we have done is we have very generously oiled out a 6-cup jumbo muffin tin. Now you must use a jumbo muffin tin for this. Each cup in a jumbo muffin tin measures approximately 3.5 inches in diameter. So that's something that's very important for this recipe. So now we're going to fill up each of our meatloaf muffin cups with our vegan meatloaf muffins. What you need to do is really mound this up, because what we're going to do is we are going to compress these vegan meatloaf muffins once we have them in our muffin tin. And that's what's going to help them to hold together. So you want to use the back of a rubber spatula and really compress them very, very tightly. And that's what's going to help them to hold together when they come out of the oven. Meatloaf Muffin Mania. Of course, you're going to find the recipe in this season's cookbook. Well, there they are, my very delicious vegan meatloaf muffins, ready to go into a 375-degree preheated oven. And we are going to bake them covered with some foil for 45 minutes. Then we're going to take them out of the oven, uncover them, and we're going to top each meatloaf muffin with a rounded teaspoon of that barbecue sauce. Then we're going to increase the heat to 400 degrees and bake them uncovered for another 20 to 25 minutes until they're nice and crispy around the edges and the tops have become very brown and firm. All right, let's get the foil over the top. And let's get these very delicious vegan meatloaf muffins into the oven now. Mashed carrots and potatoes, yeah. Mashed carrots and potatoes, ooh. Mashed carrots and potatoes with rosemary. Typically, you might serve mashed spuds with a meatloaf. And this is my little jazzy twist on the classic mashed potato dish. My grandmother always served rosemary with her potatoes. Now, I've told this story before, but Grandpa did not like rosemary, so she would make his potatoes separately. But everybody else in the family just loved rosemary. And I'm adding carrots to the spuds tonight, adds a little color, adds something just a little bit different. If your family is like my grandpa and they don't like rosemary, you can also use basil, you could use parsley. You're going to use the same amount of those herbs as you would the rosemary in the recipe. So let's just get started. Tonight I'm making half the recipe that you're going to see on our website or in the cookbook. So I'm starting off with 3 large carrots that I have peeled and chopped. So I'm using 2 small red potatoes, and I'm just going to chop them roughly into cubes. The amounts do not have to be perfect for this recipe. Toss them all in your steamer basket. I'm just cutting them into large cubes. We're going to get these on the stovetop, cover them, and steam them for 15 to 20 minutes or until they are nice and soft. And then we're going to mash them up. Mash them up. Here we go. Alrighty, the carrots and the potatoes are all nice and soft, and I'm ready to make them into mashed carrots and potatoes with rosemary. I'm going to start off by adding a little bit of vegan buttery spread while they're nice and hot. And then if you want to heat up your non-dairy milk, you certainly can. But I'm just using about 2 tablespoons in this recipe tonight, so I'm not going to bother to heat it up. But if you want your mashed potatoes and carrots to be nice and warm, you're going to heat your non-dairy milk up first. Now for the kicker, our crushed rosemary. Make certain to use crushed dried rosemary for this recipe. And I'm using about 1/2 teaspoon. I might add a little bit more freshly ground salt, a little bit of freshly ground pepper. All right, let's see how this comes together. I do like to use my trusty potato masher. Snazzy, so jazzy, it's snazzy salad recipe day. Jazzy, so snazzy, we've got snazzy salads today. When I say to my husband, I'm making potato salad, he is in. And this is my original recipe that I developed many years ago. And it's based on my mom's and my grandma's recipe. They like to use carrots and celery and all the things I'm using in this salad. And of course, I add my little Jazzy-licious twist. So let's just get started on our country-style red potato salad. And what we have done is we cubed 10 to 12 small potatoes or 8 to 10 medium-sized red potatoes. Don't peel them. I love the color and I love the taste of the peels in this salad. And we steamed them for 15 to 20 minutes until they were just fork tender. You can either make the potatoes right as you're making the salad and let them cool while you cut up all the rest of your veggies, or you can do what I did, and I made these last night and put them in a covered container in the refrigerator, and they're nice and cold and ready for a salad. So Grandma and Mom always used carrots and celery in their potato salad. I also use the celery leaves, and what I have here is 2 large carrots, which I have peeled and diced, and 2 large stalks of celery, plus a small stalk that had a lot of those nice leaves on it. I love the taste of celery leaves in salad, so I'm adding my carrots and my celery. I love adding olives to potato salad. And what I'm adding is 1/2 cup of diced queen green olives with the pimento. You can also use Kalamata olives. You could use capers if you want. If you don't like that taste, just leave them out. The salad is still spectacular. So here's 1/2 cup of queen green olives, which we have diced. Now I'm going to mix this all together. Now we need a little sauce for our salad. And I like to use a good quality vegan mayonnaise, and it's easy to get a really delicious vegan mayo at any well-stocked supermarket. So I'm starting off with about 1/2 cup of vegan mayonnaise for this salad. That's a scant 1/2 cup. And I do like a nice mustardy taste in our potato salad. And I'm using 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. But something I've done to update this recipe a little bit, I used to add a little bit of brown sugar, but now I like to add a little bit of maple syrup. And we're just adding a teaspoon of good quality maple syrup. And it's just going to give it a nice little sweet back taste. And we're going to use 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. We're also going to add some fresh herbs to this. I love keeping a good quality Italian seasoning blend in my pantry. It makes cooking so easy. So we've added 2 teaspoons of our Italian seasoning blend. And we're doing 1/2 teaspoon of salt. All right, so that's our sauce. And we're just going to stir it all together. Now, add our sauce to our salad. And once you've had it in the refrigerator, it is going to dry out a little bit. The reason for that is the potatoes act kind of like a sponge, and they're going to soak in that beautiful dressing. So after you have chilled it, if you feel like it's a little dry, add a little bit more vegan mayo or add a little bit more of the Dijon mustard. Now just stir it all together. Oh yeah. Bit of freshly ground black pepper. Now, if I don't have fresh herbs on hand, I leave the salad and serve it as is. I love to use fresh herbs in my salads, and we're going to use some fresh parsley. And of course, I've washed the parsley There's no exact measurements for your parsley and your basil in this. I am using flat leaf parsley. I may use a little curly parsley as well. But the parsley, I like to just kind of mush it all up, cut it straight across. There we go. Get a nice mince on that. So there's about a 1/4 cup. And let's get another 1/4 cup of fresh parsley. And just a little bit of our curly parsley too. Right. And there's another 1/4 cup of our freshly minced parsley. I've got a little bit of curly parsley and flat leaf parsley in here today. So there it is. All in all, we've got a 1/2 cup of chopped fresh parsley. And I've got this beautiful basil today. And we're going to have about a 1/4 cup. Now when you've got the big leaves like this, you just stack them all up, roll them up very tightly, and then just rock your knife right across it, just like that, and then just straight across. That smells so good. Ooh, look how pretty that's going to be. Now you want to fold those herbs in there. Well, I'm going to cover my beautiful country-style red potato salad. Get it into the refrigerator for 1, 2, even 3 hours so it gets nice and cold, and then I'm going to plate it up, and it's going to look so pretty and festive. Well, I said we have snazzy salads. This next salad is one that you can use as a salad or as a sandwich spread, so please stay tuned. Eggless egg salad. It sure is a snazzy salad. And this is one of my favorite salads. I developed this recipe many years ago. For my eggless egg salad, I do use tofu. You can also use cooked chickpeas for this salad. Just use your canned cooked chickpeas. You're going to use 1 can of chickpeas. Drain them, rinse them very well. Put them in your bowl, mash them just like I'm going to mash my tofu. Then just proceed with the recipe as directed today. So either way, tofu or chickpeas. So that's a great Jazzy tip. I am starting off with my regular tofu, and I have drained about 7.5 ounces of my extra firm tofu. I just put it in a colander. I just press down with my hands a little bit. Then I put it in the refrigerator in a little cup for a couple of hours. See all the water that comes out of it. I also have 7 ounces of baked tofu. You can make baked tofu yourself, but now baked tofu is also readily available in almost all well-stocked supermarkets. So it's very easy to find. It's going to add just another dimension to our eggless egg salad. So I'm adding 7 ounces of baked tofu. I'm going to start off with a little bit of our vegan mayo, 2 heaping tablespoons of a good quality vegan mayo. You can also use homemade if you prefer. We might add a little bit more. We'll taste it once we've mashed it all together. And then a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. You can also add some nutritional yeast to this if you prefer. Some people like to use that in their eggless egg salad. All right, now we're just going to use a regular potato masher and mash it all up. And you really just want to mash it to the consistency of mashed hard-boiled eggs. Well, that's perfect. All right, we've started our eggless egg salad. I'm going to chop up some fresh herbs, and we'll continue with our eggless egg salad right here on Jazzy Vegetarian. Okay, got my glasses back on, and we are going to just set our mashed tofu, mustard, and mayo aside. And I have some beautiful fresh herbs today, as you know, so I am going to add them to this tofu salad. Let's just mince up our herbs. Grabbing my cutting board. When I have fresh basil on hand, I love to use it. Just about a teaspoon or so of minced basil and about a teaspoon or so of the minced parsley. And once again, I've made this many, many times. without the fresh herbs. But when I make them in the summer and I have fresh herbs, I add the fresh herbs. There we go. And mince them up very well. Set those aside. Now a little bit of fresh parsley. We're going to add the fresh herbs at the end. That's ready to go into our salad. Now Mom and Grandma always added diced carrots and diced celery to their egg salad, so I'm following suit in my vegan version, and I've used one small carrot, which I've diced. I did peel it first, and I diced up one small stalk of celery. Just add that right in. Stir it all together. As I said earlier, this makes a wonderful salad served on a bed of greens. It's also wonderful as a sandwich in a hoagie roll or some kind of crusty bread. You'll see how I'm going to do that too today. I do need a little more mayo. Just about another half tablespoon of that mayo. The amount of mayo you use is your preference, A, and B, it also depends on how much water you drained out of that tofu before you put it together. Oh yeah, that's perfect. That looks beautiful. Now you're looking and you're saying, that's starting to look like egg salad. My little Jazzy tip, I add turmeric. Adds great nutrition and it makes your tofu eggless salad the color of egg salad. And I'm adding a generous 1/4 teaspoon of this turmeric, maybe a little more for good measure. And as it sits in the refrigerator, it really takes on that beautiful yellow color. Fold that in there. Now a little bit of Italian seasoning blend. You can also use dried basil, all-purpose seasoning, whatever you like. I'm going to use 1/2 of a teaspoon of Italian seasoning blend. If you don't add the fresh herbs, you might want to add an entire teaspoon of the Italian seasoning blend. A little bit of salt. About 1/4 teaspoon of salt. There we go. That's looking perfect. Now finish it off with our fresh herbs. We've got about a teaspoon of minced fresh parsley and a teaspoon of minced fresh basil. See how it's starting to turn that yellow color already? As it sits in the refrigerator, it'll get a little more yellow. So it'll look just like egg salad. And we're going to cover our eggless egg salad very tightly. We're going to let it stand in the refrigerator for about 1 to 2 hours. I like it to be nice and cold when I serve it. That being said, if you just make it right at lunchtime and you want to serve it room temperature, that's perfectly fine too. But you're going to see I've got a couple of really pretty ways that I'm going to present my eggless egg salad a little later on in the show. Lentil veggie curry soup. This is a wonderful soup to serve any time of year, but it's particularly nice to serve at a luncheon like I'm doing here today. Now this is 1/2 of a recipe that I'm making because it's just my husband and I tonight, but you'll find the full recipe on the website and in the cookbook. So let's just get started. I'm going to start with a couple of red potatoes. I'm using 1 1/4 cups of cubed red potatoes. You can also use white potatoes. When I use the red potatoes, I leave the peels on, but if you're going to use a russet potato in this recipe, do peel it first. Just a few simple flavors, and you cook it all together, and it makes a very, very flavorful soup. Got a large soup pot. I'm just adding 1 1/4 cups of cubed red potatoes. Now I usually use butternut squash in this soup, but butternut squash is not in season right now, so you can substitute a sweet potato, which is what I'm doing today. And you do want to peel your sweet potato. The butternut squash will hold its shape a little bit better in this soup. The sweet potato will break down a little bit, but of course it'll add a little bit of sweetness, which you know I like. And since this is 1/2 of the recipe today, I am using 1 cup of the cubed sweet potato. A little bit more, a little bit less, perfectly fine. And if you're watching this today and you say, oh, I don't like that veggie, or I don't have that veggie, on hand. You can substitute in this soup with anything that your family enjoys. And we're just going to toss them right in. That's the easy thing about this soup. Everything just gets tossed right into the pot. I have 1 can, about 15 ounces, of fire-roasted diced tomatoes. 3/4 of a cup of chopped celery with the leaves. The leaves add a lot of flavor. 1 cup of peeled and sliced carrots. You can leave the peels on the carrots if you prefer. And then my substitute for noodles in this soup, 1½ cups of thinly sliced green cabbage. Kind of make them in the shape of noodles. Pretty cool, huh? So I often get asked, how do you get enough protein in a vegan diet? Well, of course, there's a small amount of protein in all these veggies that I just put into the pan, but lentils add a great flavor, a great texture, and a great pop of protein to this recipe today. And so I'm adding 1/2 cup of sorted and rinsed lentils. To sort your lentils, all you want to do is put them on a small tray. Look through them, make sure there aren't any funny-looking lentils or little stones in there, and then just rinse them very well in a fine meshed sieve. Now we've got to add some nice flavor. I'm adding a heaping teaspoon of curry powder. After all, this is a curry soup today. And you could put fresh garlic in this if you want, but I'm trying to make it easy today, so I'm just adding 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. And then 1 vegan bouillon cube. I'm just crumbling that in. Now we're going to add 4½ to 5 cups of water. Remember, this is half of the recipe you're going to find in the cookbook and on the website. Now what's going to happen is these red lentils are going to cook down, and they're going to help to thicken our soup. And there it is, my lentil veggie curry soup, all ready to cook and to turn into soup. I'm going to pop the top on, and I'm going to bring it to a boil over medium-high heat. And once it comes to a nice bright simmer, you're going to turn the heat down to medium-low or low and let it cook for about 50 minutes, stirring it occasionally. And then it'll be ready to eat. It's as easy as soup. Snazzy salads. Wow. Doesn't this look absolutely jazzy-licious? Look how I plated up my husband's eggless egg salad. I have a nice crusty bun, a little bit of lettuce, tomato, big pile of that beautiful eggless egg salad. But look at my plate. When I'm doing a luncheon, this is how I like to plate up my salads. I just plate them up individually with some pickles or carrots and some tomatoes on the side. Really, really good. But I must taste my vegan egg salad. Woo! Look at that. See that turmeric? Made it just the color of the perfect egg salad, but of course it's completely vegan. We use that baked tofu and the regular tofu, all those herbs and spices, my carrots and celery. Wow, I could eat a big bowl of that. So delicious. And that baked tofu that I used in combination with the regular tofu really makes it pop. Oh, a little bit of my potato salad. Nice big potato. Love, love, love this salad. Those red potatoes add such a nice texture. All those herbs in there, the Dijon mustard, the vegan mayo. Really, you'd never know it was vegan unless you tell the people that are eating it. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. So the next time you're looking for fresh ideas for supper, I hope you'll turn to today's show. So until next time, be happy, be healthy, be well, from the Jazzy Vegetarian.
Visit our website at jazzyvegetarian.com to connect with Laura, see videos, find your favorite recipes, and more. Follow Laura on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Jazzy Vegetarian, lively vegan cuisine that's easy and delicious, includes all the recipes from this season and is available for $26.95. This 10th anniversary edition companion cookbook features full-color photos, menu plans, and over 120 recipes. For information or to order, visit jazzyvegetarian.com.
Here's the change.